Vegas, but it's you who hit the jackpot. Filling in for the vacationing Jeff Ward, here is Lisa Fritsch.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful, give yourselves a round of applause.
You're so
Lovely.
lovely. And good afternoon, Austin, Texas. Thank you for having me. I just have to start out by saying, ladies and gentlemen, I am just continually amazed at how this president can just make a fool of himself and us. It's almost just too embarrassing to watch him on TV and in the Oval Office, to be exact. Some 60 days after the spill has happened, detached, aloof, not able to channel any sense of empathy or sincerity all night Tuesday, almost blaming the American people for the spill. We're 2% of the population, yet we're using 20% of the world's resources. Oh, so it's our fault that we need to use oil? Blaming BP for even existing, even though the residents of the state of Louisiana depend greatly on BP for their oil resources. Without that drilling, that's a major source of income for them. But it's their fault. They're evil. We're evil. 836-0590. Toll free is 877-590-KLBJ. I am Lisa Fritsch. Thank you for the warm welcome. But I do have to say, bravo to Congressman Barton from Texas. Finally, somebody who has the courage and the cojones to say what needed to be said.
I'm speaking now totally for myself. I'm not speaking for the Republican Party. I'm not speaking for anybody in the House of Representatives but myself. But I'm ashamed of what happened in the White House yesterday. I think it is a tragedy of the first proportion that a private corporation can be subjected to what I would characterize as a shakedown. In this case, a $20 billion shakedown, with the Attorney General of the United States, who is legitimately conducting a criminal investigation and has every right to do so to protect the interests of the American people, participating in what amounts to a $20 billion slush fund that's unprecedented in our nation's history, that's got no legal standing, and which sets, I think, a terrible precedent.
And what's going on here? I mean, what is the deal with President Obama morphing into Jesse Jackson before our very eyes, going on TV at 9 o'clock in the morning, talking about kicking somebody's you-know-what, then going into the Oval Office, basically blackmailing and extorting money from the oil companies? Why is he doing this? Because he's incompetent, that's why. Because he doesn't have anything else.
He's a jackass.
That's exactly right. I couldn't have said anything better myself. He is. He said it better himself. Nobody else.
He's a jackass.
He is. He is. To come on TV the way he did, completely, and then it's, make sure we pray. Are you serious? That's his answer. He's been seen at concerts, playing golf, basketball games, and his answer is just to extort $20 billion from BP. Well, for what? Who is overseeing the money? What is the money being allocated to? This is why it's extortion. Because there's no plan in place. Had the president come out and said on Tuesday night, we're going to talk to BP about putting a plan in place together, how the money is going to be spent for recovery, for cleanup. We're going to sit down and talk about how they're going to pay to stop the oil from spilling. Not just $20 billion because they should do it, because they have to. And I did read that we get 35 cents for every dollar of profit that BP makes off of this oil. So that means we have an interest in cleaning up the spill too. We're depending on BP, but I just have to say, if you're calling to bash BP and you're saying, they're greedy capitalists, they owe everybody an answer, they owe everybody that money, be careful, because this attack on BP is an attack on corporations and capitalism at large, which in turn is an attack on the livelihood and the prosperity of the American people. Plain and simple. We depend on BP for oil. People depend on them for jobs. You know, Exxon's got to be sitting over there going, oh, my goodness, what is happening here? Oh, my goodness, they're so glad it's not them. You know, if you're a business dealing with America right now, you've got to be so nervous that anything could happen. Let me ask you also, let me just pose this question because people are angry at BP. It's their fault. They didn't respond. Does anybody really think that BP would have been incompetent? And had they known something like this could happen, they wouldn't have done something to prevent 2.5 million gallons of oil going into the ocean? Wouldn't it have made more sense for them to be able to harvest the oil and use it and make a profit from it? Why would they be incompetent enough to let a disaster like this happen? All right, 836-0590. Toll free is 877-590-KLBJ. Good afternoon. Aaron, you're on the Jeff Ward Show. Hi, how are you?
I'm just driving through Austin. Looks like it's starting to rain on us already. But I had a few thoughts on what you were talking about with the whole deal with the $20 billion slush fund, or however you want to
extortion money, yeah.
Well, a couple of things. I do like the fact that eventually people are going to start questioning, where is that money going to be spent, why, who's got control of it, and bottom line, it is extortion. But the real question that seems to be ignored lately is just how many of those oil platforms in the Gulf actually belong to the United States. I'm pretty sure they haven't stopped drilling, and I would almost be willing to bet that our platforms also have not stopped drilling.
They're not going to stop drilling. And that isn't, well, he says that now he's put a ban on all drilling.
Exactly, and
until
I think he even is aware of that and is probably doing a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, don't let it get out in the media that we're still doing this, as long as I look like I'm doing something.
Well,
at least that's
what
my
he's
take
doing
on it.
is making himself look like a gangster thug who
Which
has...
he is a Chicago politician, so that's his familiar territory.
All right, Aaron, thank you for calling. Appreciate
Not a
hearing
problem.
from you.
Thank
Thanks. Can I take a call? Can't take a call? You're going to make me... Let's take... Come on, I already let Jerry in on it. Jerry, you're on KLBJ.
How you doing?
How are you?
Do you know what the history of why we have the EPA? Do you really know
Environmental
what?
Protection Agency, non-agency, why?
Do you know why we have civil rights?
So that people won't whine, so that people won't complain over destroying. So that's why BP had to pay $20 billion so that people wouldn't whine that they're discovering the earth, that oil is evil. Give me a break. I think the only people who are happy about BP right now in the headlines are Tiger Woods, Nike, and Al Gore.
One piece of advice for everyone. You have a right to be offended. You also have the right to change the channel, leave the room, or press an opposing view. Everyone's an idiot, and you're included.
Jeff Ward on News Radio 590 KLBJ. Sure, Lisa Fritsch might have a lot on her mind, but why not join in the conversation? Call in with your opinions at 836-0590 or toll free 877-590-KLBJ.
Who are the small people that they're protecting? This chairman had a big meeting with Obama in the White House in the Oval Office, and Obama said, look, I'm concerned about all the shrimpers and the fishermen and all the people whose livelihood has been changed, devastated by your oil spill. So good. The BP chairman comes out and he says, we are going to help the small people.
I spent a fair amount of time, and I must say that he comes across as he is frustrated because he cares about the small people, and we care about the small people. I hear comments sometimes that large oil companies are greedy companies or don't care, but that is not the case in BP. We care about the small people.
People are all mad at him, but I'm willing to bet you $100 that in the meeting at some point, Obama must have referred to these people as little people or small. He had to have. Because otherwise the guy came out as if he was saying something he thought the American people wanted to hear. He came out saying, we are concerned for the small people. That's Obama's whole reason for being in office, is that he wants to help all the little people. He's concerned about the big guy stepping on the little guy. It's straight out of Barack Obama's campaign, his administrative playbook. caring for the small people. Now the chairman's in trouble because he went and used something directly, probably from the president himself, and everybody's offended. You should have been
pathetically condescending.
Exactly. You should have been offended in 2008. You should have been offended 60 days ago. You should have been offended when the health care bill passed. We should have been offended that he's got elected. That's when we should have been offended. George, welcome to KLBJ. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. Actually, I'm quite offended with your comments. I can't believe an American or someone that would call themselves an American would sit there and defend a foreign company, a foreign oil company at that, against their own American citizen and their own president, regardless of his views. This is America, and we should stand up for what's America. And if a foreign company came and destroyed a part of America, I would ask them to pay a lot more than $20 billion.
I don't think people are offended, or the state of Louisiana is offended when they're getting 35 cents of every dollar that BP makes.
But that's not
they're
the
only
only thing.
offended.
I mean,
well, they're
last
only
week,
offended when an accident happens. No one's
well,
ever
just
dealt
last
with this
week,
before.
What kind of a price tag do you pay on last week? 400 sea turtles end up dead on the beaches of Louisiana and the Gulf.
So you
what
think
kind of a price tag do you pay on that? How
so
much
you're
should
just any
BP
number,
pay?
any number. Why not 200 billion then? Why
I mean,
not?
what's
Why
the
not just
humanity in that?
bankrupt
I mean,
them?
should they not be responsible for that? Should we not want a guy in charge saying you owe us this, regardless of it?
But George,
Regardless of what
isn't the point that the U.S. government is also responsible to help find a solution, not to just set some number out of the blue and just charge money that doesn't allocate it to anything?
How much would England help us if Halliburton was off the coast of England and this happened to England? What would they do to us? What would they look at us, and what would be our responsibility to that and theirs?
I find it hard to believe that another president would act the way our president is acting, which is to go off to several parties in the 60-day period and then finally come out 60 days later. And the way he's been relating to people as a victim the whole time is completely unpresidential. Talking to Gulf Coast residents, well, if I could dive down and stop it, I would. If I had a straw to suck it up, I would. Nobody wants to hear that helplessness and that victim attitude. What people want to hear is that he's going to work with the company to find a solution. There is no solution. It's fine to say that. They're trying. But we're in it together. We're in it together.
Patient enough to give BP 7 opportunities to fix it. It has been months since this has happened.
The first idea that they had.
And he has not given them any kind of restriction to get this problem solved. They cannot solve it because
they can't solve it because the president is incompetent.
500,000 feet below sea level to deal with this.
George,
this is the first time in history that this has happened.
You know what?
So
this is the first time, well, maybe the second time in history. We got a wuss and a weenie for president. Plain and simple. We got ourselves a big fat lemon, and it's starting to show. He can't handle the pressure. The red phone is ringing. Remember that Hillary Clinton ad, the red phone in the middle of the night, the 3 a.m., ring the bling, bling. It's ringing, and he does not know what to do with it, y'all. That's the problem. Okay, 836-0590. Toll free is 877-590-KLBJ.